Hi everybody, thank you for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling. On this episode, it's a cassette episode. I love doing these ones. My music collection started with tapes. You know, I got rid of a lot of them, and then I find I'm buying them back again for the sake of nostalgia. Unlike the 8-tracks, I remember buying lots of cassettes and listening to them on, I went through many a Walkman. I never actually had a Sony Walkman, like a really good one. I always had, good ones, but not a Sony. So subsequently I wore out a lot of them. And I don't know about anybody else, but I would always find that I could never find a decent pair of headphones. One side or the other would always go out almost immediately. Anyway, band I'm talking about in this episode is Honeymoon Suite, one of my favorite Canadian bands. And I think I've got everything that they put out on cassette. Just the first 4 studio albums and a compilation. So let's get started. First album came out in 1984, Selftitled. This is iconic to anybody that grew up in the 80s listening to the radio and watching much music and video hits. The Bed of Nails from the New Girl Now video. These, this had 4 big singles, 4 big videos off it in Canada. Very iconic. Self-Titled, this is a Columbia House copy on WEA, which is WEA Music of Canada. Warner Electra Atlantic is what it stood for. And it's essentially Warner Brothers Records in Canada. It's just the all-encompassing. And like a lot of cassettes that came out in 83 and 84 on WEA, they had a band photo, an artist photo right here in the center. There's the cassette itself, and the credits inside of it. There were never any lyrics. There were no lyrics inside of the vinyl either. So that's a Canadian one. I got a couple American ones to show you, which is cool. Their albums were released in the States, obviously, and they did get a little bit of chart action, but it's easier to find Canadian copies than US, so I was happy enough to find this. Second album, The Big Prize. Now, it has a release date of 85 on it. I don't actually think it came out until 86, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So this is a US copy. So far to look at it, you couldn't tell. Now, the difference is clear. It actually is on Warner Brothers Records. It is a U.S. catalog number, and that's what cassettes looked like at the time that come out on Warner Brothers. Back cover 2 looks different than the Canadian one. And before Canadians started doing it, Canadian record companies, the U.S. were putting out these clear cassettes. I thought these were so cool and so futuristic looking when I first saw them. Other than that, the credits inside of this is pretty much the same photos here and the same credits here. And what a great album. Next one, 1988, Racing After Midnight. And this one looks very different on the side than its Canadian counterpart. They both go with the gold look, but the writing is very different. This is a US copy on Warner Brothers. Looks different on the back too, and yes, it's another one of the clear cassette tapes. After that, it's pretty much the same. Photos on the inside, Derry and his infamous tire track guitar, which he still uses in concert. And all of the credits. There were no lyrics inside this one either. That was their last one for Warner Brothers in the States for reasons I will never understand it. They never really caught on like they did in Canada. So in Canada, by 1989, they'd amassed a good number of radio hits. And so they collected those into the singles. And this came out in late 1989. I remember getting this for Christmas that year, actually. This is a Columbia House copy. It's on WEA. Nowadays, the easier thing to find is something called the singles, which is just a series that Warner did. And it's this album. This one's better because it's got stories behind each of the songs and some cool photos inside of it, too. There's the cassette itself, using the same logo that they used on Racing After Midnight. Now, the stories behind each of these songs, you have to get kind of, the record, the CD, and the cassette because in some places you can't read what they say, but you can get the whole story if you get enough of the formats. So here's some cool pictures. It's a picture of Derry and Gary with Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. That's the guys and Foreigner. Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, who played an All Along You Knew, which oddly enough isn't on here, even though it was a single. And there they are getting presented, I'm assuming, gold or platinum awards for Racing After Midnight. It's a good starter for getting into the band. I only got one more thing to show you. In 1991, the last album that they did for Warner Music Canada, WEA, whatever you want to call it, came out. Monsters Under the Bed. And if my memory serves correctly, this actually did come out on October 31st. I saw that in a Much Music interview. Good album. Didn't do as well as the previous ones, but there's a lot of good stuff on here. This did not come out in the US. They should have put it out, but record companies. And plus, this is late 91 and blah, 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 blah. Band photos and lyrics for the first time too, and credits. So there you go. If you haven't checked them out and you like melodic rock, I wouldn't say melodic hard rock, although some of their music borders on that sometimes, but you know, if you like Night Ranger, Journey, you know, check these guys out. They're fantastic. They got some great songs. That's my Honeymoon Suite cassette collection. Thank you for watching Tim's Final Confessions.